Hello, welcome to another video on the Scouring Early Access. Today's match is going to be a ranked reforged match. No, 1v1 with me, the perfect gamer, against my enemy, Nefarious. And here pretty much I spawned as an orc. And also chose orc. But here instead of doing a proper orc build order, we just make all the warriors and berserkers. I decided to do a little funny, I guess, change of plans and just try to do archer build order. Even though it would be easier to just play human, but I just thought maybe if my enemy knows I'm playing orc, then they're not gonna know that I'm gonna have all the archers. But anyways, I didn't really know what my enemy was, orc or human, because he picked random. And so I'm gonna find out that he's human pretty much very later part of this match. Or I guess this is the scout I made just to go and see what he has, or even what race he spawned as. And I can take this warrior back to make this outpost, so it's always a good idea to scout, see maybe one kind of strategy your enemy's doing, or I guess just knowing what race they are. But anyways, I'm just shooting these bandits, of course. For some reason, the developers still didn't want to fix these bandits. And so when we climb up, they always go down, because we didn't feel like fixing it. And so pretty much none of my archers are going to be dying. It's just going to be all the free XP, pretty much. From here I saw he had all the... We saw the archers, only a few archers. Double smithy, so I guess he's thinking of doing all the gladiators. But here I thought he had all the units. He's probably going to be producing more, so I guess decided not to harass his workers. So I just went home, took this outpost. I went to try and clear this base to try and get a second base. But pretty much my plan was just to make all the archers, potentially get a tier 2 town hall, so I could get the archer damage, so I would have an actual chance to fight my enemy instead of just being curb stomped by the gladiators, or I guess other units. I guess my enemy finally moving out on the map, trying to kill this outpost. But I also don't really... Or yes, this is what happened, is probably made 2 smithies, but didn't know that you need a tier 2 town hall to actually be allowed to make gladiators with your smithy, so these 2 smithies kind of were not really doing much for him. But I guess he probably banked up all the resources, so double production, he's gonna be going through his resources anyway, so it's not a big deal. But it does mean that he's not gonna be moving around the map as fast as I am, I guess. So here I was already making a base, halfway done. Just continuing making archers, few workers. And here I'm just going around, yes, trying to kill a few more neutrals. Here my enemy is, I guess, somewhat mixed amount of units. But it is just a few archers, and it's mostly gladiators. Which they do, I guess, splash damage, but doesn't really say how much splash or how wide the area is of their splash, but pretty much they just do splash around the units that are surrounding them. Anyways, here I killed a few wolves, but I decided to just go ahead and kill the rest of them. And here I used a warrior to just, I guess, scout out a bit, or just be able to warning scout. So here I find my enemy, and I see he has all the gladiators. But he doesn't know that I have an army of archers. He only saw my warrior. So I lose my scout here. But I do try to clear this troll. But of course I didn't know that he was gonna be maybe attacking my base here. So that's why I tried to run back. But here for some reason he goes through the middle here. And only now I actually noticed that I can actually go through here for these little paths. Which I guess makes it dynamic, but I don't think anyone is ever going to be making a base here in the middle of a map. Because the gold mines just take literally forever to run out of gold, so you're definitely just going to have 3 bases at most before winning or losing a game. No, here, still producing a lot of, I guess, gladiators. We made a few of them. Made 2 rippers. Not really sure why. Maybe, I guess, to be little meat shields. I can allow the gladiators to run back and let the rippers take all the attention. And so my enemy did pretty much clear most of the map. These goblins, whatever was over here, outposts, this space, these wolves, and now I guess he was trying to kill these wolves, but of course I kind of catch him out of hand. And now I'm just going to be target firing his gladiators while trying to run away. And you can see how much flash damage we do. They're just melting away my archers, so I decide to just run. Let my archers deal with them. But of course I made my tier 2 over here. Now in my main base, so it's just gonna be a little annoying. I guess just now the Farius got the archer damage upgrade, but I already had my archer damage researched a while back. And here pretty much I'm going to be just cleaning up his base. Cleaning up the units out of my base. And I didn't really lose that many workers. He lost most of his army. Oh, this guy's even here. I didn't notice. But I have a second base, which means I can just produce a whole lot of workers. In comparison to him, he just has a single base, which means he's gonna have way less stuff to use against me. Here he just printed a lot of gladiators. I guess that's all he's gonna be making for now. But I guess another thing about this reforged mode, which is a little kind of not interesting to me personally, is that zone expands and you kind of fail to do your attack. And then it's pretty much very difficult for you to come back into the game. Because by the time I already made my base, I'm already making a third base. My enemy only has one base, and he's barely building a second one, so can be a little interesting, especially when you want to send out some gladiators like here to kill a few workers, but you can see how I guess overpowered widow orcs are with their peasant bows. Just need a tier 2 town hall. You can just defend yourself from any widow, whatever you call it. I guess widow raid, or a widow, I guess, force of units that are going to try to kill your workers. Anyways, I tried to check if he had a base up here, but he didn't. And so I did assume that should definitely have a base over here somewhere. Which is where I'm going to be moving my group of archers to. Over here I just put an archer here to scout, because it was just kind of easier to just take a random unit and just put him here to warn me from his potential attacks. Evo. Once again, I did forget that there are goblins you can make, and they're just cheaper version of the scout, so better to use goblins as those meat shield scouts, you could say. Anyways, over here I went in here, thought I could kill a few workers, but didn't really have many of them anyways. And here I decided to kill the most expensive units, cannons, especially because they're kind of extremely hard to use because they don't feel like firing through your units. So that's how I was able to just kill a whole lot of units here. And this hurts my enemy a bit more because I am basically have more, what do we call them, bases, so more resources. So using a few archers is not as, I guess, damaging as him losing his units. So you're just producing more gladiators, I guess. But they're kind of low on health, so you do want to just mix in a few of them instead of having a whole army of gladiators, I would say. Anyways, over here I made a archer cave. Trying to make an altar so I could get the tier 3 to get the rage, pretty much. And I sorted out archers here as a defense force. And I guess here I have 2 scouts. Which is basically just free goal for him. But I guess I do think it is somewhat worth it to lose a unit to know if his army is going through here or through the top here. But I guess I did forget to get a scout on the bottom right. And there you go, this little piece of information, knowing his whole army is going to be running here. I decide to hide my munchers to try and, I guess, bait him in here into my base so that I can flank with my archers and then try and run him down with my munchers. But you can actually see it's not that big of a force. I have more munchers than he has units here. But eventually he does know that I have munchers here. So I move in my archers. But I guess this was auto not synchronized, but it didn't really matter. Now I'm still able to take care of his units. Here you can see these rippers are supposed to be countering munchers, but I think munchers are just better because they're faster. So you can actually run away from engagements, but if you have rippers, you're kind of super slow on the map in comparison to munchers. And especially that you need a smithy to produce all the reapers, so that's why I think it's a little difficult to use rippers effectively. It's easier to make all the barracks, where you can make all the cavaliers and archers, and those units scale better into the late game, I would say. And here I guess I was getting a tier 3. Getting our barracks, so I was just trying to spam out all the munchers. And I guess we can see here, I could have actually just attacked here, do this expansion. But I guess I didn't really know how much stuff he had. Here I was getting a few warlocks. Just so I can get the death god ability, so I could, I guess, maybe eventually poison his army and then run in with my munchers. But I guess now I decide to maybe check what he has here, or what kind of defenses are here. And I guess instead of having a scout here, I just try to build a few barricades here, which would slow down, I guess, the potential to rush or army. Give me enough time to reinforce this, I guess, area. So here I go to see what he has. So he mostly had a lot of ground units, so that looks good for me. And so I was just waiting to get the range. I guess get a few archers, because that'll be helpful in sniping his little cannons that are on top of these buildings. And I guess one thing I do like in this mode is that logging camps, they only cost gold. And they're relatively cheap, so it is a good idea to try and put logging camp next to some trees, instead of having these pesky workers trying to run very far to only give you 10 wood. Which is what I did here, I think. Just put them all in gold. It's got plenty of wood because of this better position for my woodworkers. I guess now I just decided to attack. I just started producing munchers to be little reinforcements in case he was going towards my base. And then I used this big army to try and attack him directly. You're going to see this big engagement, but we can see I just have all the munchers, and it's not going to be really winnable here. And so I just throw everything in here. And I lose maybe, I guess, 7 munchers. But he loses everything, so that's pretty much it. And so I guess it is more of a, in my opinion, although strange, I would say, how you just can play a match and just get a second base. And if the enemy didn't get to spot it right away, then you're gonna be behind. very quickly. And so it becomes more of a macro game, which I think is sort of kind of not as interesting, I guess. Just spam my auto units. Oh, and I guess another thing I wanted to mention is that cannons and mortars, you could say, kind of way weaker in comparison to classic. And if you have auto cannons, then it's going to be very difficult for them to save you, you could say. When in the classic, you can actually siege them and hold down a position really well. But I guess it was a little interesting to play, but it is kind of more about just making more units. And I guess it's sort of macro heavy, but I guess to each his own and how they like it. But I guess it's different, and that's pretty much it. You can see I had my base relatively quickly, but I still had an army, so it wasn't just making a base with nothing. And I did get 7,000 more gold. It's like a whole lot, because your workers mine super slowly, so that extra base can help you out a lot. And here you can see I somehow made a relatively similar amount of units to him, but I did get better engagements against him. Anyways, if you liked the video, you can leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to see more videos on Scouring Early Access, then you can subscribe. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.